Yo, Lito Lolo, coming back down to earth here, and before I get into the video, I firstly want to bring it to everybody's attention that I did in fact receive a strike from my Predators Getting What They Deserve Part 3 installment, which has been permanently removed from the site. They don't want me to win, they want me to lose. They are very bad people, my friends. Now this unfortunately means I will be postponing posting any videos within the Predator universe just to be safe, because I don't want a maximum prison sentence that will ultimately end my YouTube career. And how can something end before it even started, right? But as you can see, internet dwellers, I am now a reformed man, and I have changed for the better. As you can see, I have a tie on. And since this is Trump's America, I do have my holy Bible right beside me, and I will keep it there till the end of time. Anyways, let's get into the video, okay? Jake Paul has been scamming us for years. For years! Call the Lord from the rafters. Jake Paul has been scamming us for years at this point, and yet, just like the brainless fish that we are, keep biting the bait. We know his tactics, we know his strategy, and how he enjoys beating up the elderly to the point it's kind of sad and pathetic, yet we still are here tuning in every time. It might be a fetish at this point, we don't really know, but time and time again we have seen Jake Paul take on these opponents who had achieved a lot in their careers, such as Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley, and even Nate Diaz, but whom are no longer in their prime, which is where the big issue lies. And I believe that should be the focal matter that should be addressed after today's disappointing and embarrassing game, because the Bizarre Vark star is carving out a false legacy with this current career path that he has been flawlessly treading these past few years. Because once again, he is picking out people who are basically in the retirement home. Let's just call it for what it is. Now granted, this is no disrespect to these fighters, because some of them are still relatively young in their lifespan, around 40, but this does not negate the fact that their heyday has now passed, and the peaks that they once owned in their careers is now but a forgotten memory. As we can see by this article that states statistically, fighters have an 8 to 10 year career and usually peak around their late 20s. So by the time that they're 40, when it comes to their career, and I'm sure Chuck Liddell can attest to this, they are basically Captain America at the end of Endgame. As we know, the man who rapped "It's Everyday Bro" strategically picks these fighters, where a multitude of them were actually trained UFC fighters. So if you put them in the ring, it completely limits their capabilities. But let's put that to the side for right now. Jake Paul does this because he knows that their legacy will bring in a viewership, but also to stroke his own ego, he selects them because he knows that he has a high percentage chance of winning, so that he can reap the benefits of the outcome, because he's a narcissist, just like his older brother.
Motherfucker, I'll kill you, Mike.
I mean, if we take a look at the age of the man that Jake Paul lost to, Tommy Fury, it is evident that fighters in their prime are a lot more challenging in comparison to 50-year-old men, obviously. But yet, for some reason, when we see a big name like Mike Tyson, it's like a part of us is enthralled with what the outcome could be because of how great someone like Iron Mike once was. When we think of Mike Tyson, I'm sure a lot of us have a reel of his knockout highlights engraved in our brains, and then it starts playing with the Michael Myers Halloween theme song playing in the background. And we just hope to the sake of the gods that he just teaches Jake Paul a lesson. If there is one unanimous thing that we can all collectively agree on as a human race, it's the fact that we all want to see Jake Paul fail. We want to see him get knocked out. But we don't see him for who he is now, which is just an elderly man. Granted, now, can he whoop all of our asses? Yes. But for a trained boxer, probably not. So we always have the tendency to bite the bait. Fortunately for us though, it was on Netflix, so it was basically free if you had a subscription, which was another issue, but we'll get into that later. As we know, the fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul was heavily anticipated for the summer of 2024 on July 20th, a few months ago, but had to be rescheduled because Mike Tyson, being the old geezer that he is, suffered an injury that had to postpone the fight indefinitely. I remember when this occurred, I didn't even think the fight was still going to happen, if I'm going to be honest, which I was completely fine with. If you saw that photo of Mike Tyson, you would understand that he represented exactly what it means to be old. And it wasn't until like last week where I saw the poster for it being announced saying that it was going to be streaming on Netflix on November 15th, which, if you think about it, is this Netflix's first live streamed event ever? Like, was this their streaming debut? Because it honestly had to have been, with how fucked up their servers were. They did not take into account the wave of people that were going to be tuning into this fight. There is no other explanation, because everybody I knew were experiencing technical difficulties the entire time. I genuinely think that there were only like 100 people out there that were lucky enough to get the golden ticket of a good experience. I legit, and this is my experience, I legit had to go on Discord, find a server that was streaming it, and watch it with at least 50 other people on 5 frames per second. It was, the frames were so bad, it was like trying to play a third-party AAA game on a Nintendo console. Speaking of Nintendo, the Punch-Out star Mike Tyson slapped the dog shit out of Jake Paul during their weigh-ins, where he seemed unfazed by a hit that I believe would have KO'd at least 78% of the population. Like me, I would have been catching some Z's. But this was the first sign of a man's degrading's ability no longer being as effective as they once were. Mike Tyson was given a debuff, and that was old age, my friends, and the father of time knocking at his door telling him, seriously, you really want to do this? Now, fast forward to the fights. I would say, and I'm pretty sure everyone can agree on this, that literally every fight before the main event was spectacular. Everyone went out there and did their thing, and they were all collectively better than the main event. I mean, you had these two guys, I don't know their names, but they were literally duking it out, nothing but fists till the last round. There was another girl who literally had a big gash in her eye, yet still swinging like her life depended on it all the way to the last round. It was an entertaining undercard, and huge respect to all those fighters. And then we get to the main event, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. That was honestly lagging more than the third world country's broadband internet. But we see Jake Paul come out in style with the classic Phil Collins "In the Air Tonight," I guess to subtly disrespect Mike Tyson, because that was a song that was playing in the movie The Hangover when he was introduced into the scene. And honestly, I don't think I've heard this many boos since I saw Edge take Matt Hardy's girl in the WWE. I honestly don't think I've heard this many boos since the Houston Astros victory parade and then Ted Cruz popped out. Which was well deserved. I mean, Jake Paul's an asshole. We can all agree on that. He is an anime villain. Jake Paul and his brother are legitimately characters that you would find on a satirical South Park episode. And honestly, I wasn't even able to see Mike Tyson walk out because the Discord server I was in kicked everybody out because his wife came home from work and was upset that he wasn't watching their child. How do I know this? Because he paused the stream for 3 minutes, came back, pulled up the notepad on Windows, and typed it all out for us. Now, the first round was cinema. Mike Tyson was out there throwing his heavy hitters, really holding that beat down on the controller, and also really moving the analog stick forward or the W key on the keyboard, whichever you prefer. Kind of showcasing a slither of hope of who he once was, but it all just started to deteriorate slowly after that. Similar to how when Buzz Lightyear just kind of jumped off that railing in Toy Story and slowly descended in slow motion. Because after the first round, it just seemed like a scene senior citizen just trying to survive while his grandson with anger management was just beating the bricks off of him to satisfy his own ego. I'm talking every round was bad. At some point, you could even see Mike Tyson limping in pain. He was even biting his glove continuously, getting fucking stiff armed by Jake Paul, the guy, the fucking leader of Team 10 of all people. How did this happen? What universe are we living in where the guy from Team 10 is beating up Mike Tyson? It was so sad and depressing that I think everybody watching somehow collectively linked consciously together like on some quantum entanglement shit, where we all just started to feel bad for Mike and started to realize and come to an epiphany of how lame these events actually were. Like, you can tell by the third round, Jake Paul was going extremely easy on Mike Tyson, because if he really wanted to fuck him up, he probably could have. The remainder of the fight was just boring and unbearable to watch. I can't believe they were able to fill out 72,000 seats in that arena. It is insane to me, especially after the track record that Jake Paul has had. I think Mike Tyson had one good hit in him, which kind of developed these conspiracy theories that he held back, and like the whole thing was scripted, and that could be a possibility. I'm not too sure, but I mean, come on now. Mike Tyson will always have that thing on him, you know, but overall, health-wise, he's just not up to standard. He's not there anymore. I mean, he even tweeted out that he had health issues not too long ago when he had to postpone the fight initially. He said that he almost died in June, had 8 blood transfusions, lost half his blood, and lost 25 pounds, which is insane that he still decided to go into the fight. It is insane that he still decided to go in there and fight, which, I mean, never mind. For 20 mil, I'm doing it too. For 20 mil, I'm doing it too. Which actually brings me to my conclusion on why he even did this in the first place, which I'm sure we can all guess, and that's because he really wanted that 20 mil, you know what I'm saying? And that might be the minimum, because let's be real here, there definitely might be some gambling connections that they have behind the scenes, where they actually do stage a lot of these fights so that they can maximize their profits. I think that is definitely a possibility. Illegal, but definitely a possibility. I mean, just look at Mike Tyson trying to dab up Jake Paul before the last round even ended. And to the people saying Mike Tyson wouldn't have done that because he wouldn't want to tarnish his legacy, surely didn't watch the clip of him talking to a little girl where he said he didn't care about his legacy. He said that himself. I don't know.
After such a successful career, what type of legacy would you like to leave behind when it's all said and done?
Well, I don't know. I don't believe in the word legacy. I just think that's another word for ego. Legacy doesn't mean nothing. That's just some word everybody grabbed onto. I'm just passing through. I'm going to die, and it's going to be over. Who cares about legacy after that?
Now, this was existentially deep, but in summary, he is basically saying that we all die and that nothing really matters after that. The only thing that matters is what happens now when we are alive. So essentially, what he is saying is that he did it for the bag. Come on, guys. We all know why he did it for. We all know it, right? He did it for the dollar bills, and that's fine. Good for him. You know, he got it. You know, Jake Paul, he won. He got his money. And, you know, the only people who truly lost here is us because we wasted our times. I am never going to watch Jake Paul fight again. I vow that till the end of time. Anyways, that's all from me. I'm off to another dimension. See ya.